Hi, this is New York Myke and Roll Right Radio. Yeah, no, it's not radio. It's Roll Right Radio's YouTube channel. And this is our first real episode on the YouTube channel. And usually Roll Right Radio, the podcast, we bring it from Excalibur Cigar Lounge down in San Diego, Kearny Mesa Boulevard. Great place, great lounge, great people. And it's fun doing it from there. But we're doing a YouTube stuff today, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to separate it somewhat from the podcast. It's still Roll Right Radio. It's the same general stuff, but I wanted to pick out certain things to talk about. And today, the reason I wanted to do this, what prompted me was when I saw Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are going to meet each other. It just hit me. I said, "Wow, that's pretty cool." I mean, for a guy that doesn't even watch professional sports anymore because they won't stand for the national anthem, I'm not going to stand for that. So I don't really care. But you know, you can't take away from what's going on. And I looked at it and thought about it. And I was doing an episode, one of my podcast episodes about symbolism and just you know, the whole thing. To me, sports is as much about the symbolism and the what's the word I'm looking for? That it symbolizes like it's a metaphor is the word I'm looking for. It's a metaphor for life. You know, you play sports and you learn sportsmanship. You play sports and you learn to interact with other people. It's part of why, you know, people are just so devastated that the kids aren't going to school. This is what they do in school. They interact with each other and they learn and they develop. And when you play ball, you know, it's not always the biggest, strongest, fastest, whatever, most athletic. There are other things, more intangible things, the willingness, courage, the commitment to practice and train, work hard, study, all those things that go into being a champion, to winning. You know, it's a lot more than just being, again, the biggest, strongest, fastest, or most athletic. And I think you see that when you see this. And I thought about it, and I said, I want to do an episode on the importance of that metaphor, because as I watched sports, listen, I love sports. I played football in high school. I played with the I was in the Air Force, but I played with the Army. Semi-pro ball afterwards. Not that I was a great football player by any stretch, but you know, it was a game that I was capable of being involved with. So I did, and I liked it. I'm not going to say I loved it. I didn't want to, this is like, you know, I'm going to pursue this. I'm not that big a dude anyway, but I play defense. And anyway, the point is, I look at it as a metaphor. And I looked at that as I'm watching with friends of mine in different places. And I said, this is like flag football. I said, what happened to football? What happened to the old days when, you know, somebody make a call and they'd argue and scream and yell, and maybe a coach would get a technical or something like that, and then they just go play ball. And I said, every other play is a flag. Every other play is a penalty. Every other, you know, it's like, what's going on? Does anybody really know the rules? Because they're breaking them all the time. So I looked at that and I said, you know, what are kids learning? When we were kids, and especially my cousin Kenny Jackowitz, who always wanted to grow up to be a baseball player, professional baseball player, and he did. Played for the Cincinnati Reds, actually. But he was always Duke Snider. Yeah, he was a big Duke Snider fan. I was a Mickey Mantle fan. And, you know, back in New York, Kenny lived in Coney Island. I lived in Sheepshead Bay. We'd spend time at each other's homes. He also lived in Canarsie. And all these places is where, you know, his dad, my dad, after the war, they turned the barracks, the enlisted guys' barracks, into housing. And so that's where we lived, in those kind of projects and all that stuff. And we looked up to these professional athletes, man. He'd get up to the plate. Okay, I'm Duke Snyder, and I'd get up there, and I'd be Whitey Ford pitching the ball. I mean, we're playing stickball. One guy, holding the stick against the wall with a square on it, and the other guy pitching it to him. And you hit the ball, and it hit the second floor. It was a double, and this is what we played. But we always, took the name of the athlete that we looked up to. When there was football, it was Johnny Unitas, man. Johnny U. Yeah, I know. What's his name? Carl Griffin. The Giants guy. That was great. But Johnny U, man, he was. Alan Amici, some of the great Baltimore Colts. That's why I can't root for the Colts. They're Baltimore Colts. They snuck out of town at night. It's just not right. Anyway, so I go, what happened? And I go, wait a minute. When you were a kid, I didn't know Mickey Mantle was an alcoholic. He was shielded from all that stuff. And when it finally leaked out, we were old enough to go, oh, okay, well, but if you were, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kid, and you're a fan of, Willie Mays, Jackie Robinson, Mickey, whatever, you don't want to hear the bad stuff. You didn't. Today you hear everything. But when there was a bad call, when Jackie Robinson was called out stealing home plate, and you're watching that, and you see the guy dust himself off. Yeah, you could argue, but then, he's got a dignified demeanor, and you learn from that. You see whatever calls there are, you watch it, because when you're playing Sandlot, there's no referees, there's no umpires. It's you and the other guys, and your conduct. You're going to learn from what you watch. And we're missing all that. And I felt I wanted to do the first YouTube show about that, and I do. So there's other things I want to talk. Look, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, because politics is life. It's just the way it is. I know a lot of people don't understand it. Mike, why are you always talking politics? Because politics, rules, sometimes it could make your life, and most of the time it could ruin your life. All of this stuff, and you entrust it to people that are the leaders of the tribe, and you say, okay, lead us, and then you expect that it's going to be in the best interest of the tribe, okay, the country, the nation, and it's not. I look at what's going on right now. I'm going to read a list of things that I want to get back into the coming Super Bowl and my argument about the importance of sports being a metaphor for life, especially to our kids. But look, we got migrant caravans coming up from Honduras, going to Guatemala to come to the U.S. border. Just think about that. Thousands, because this Biden presidency it's actually, look, it's the third Obama term is what it is. It's nothing more than that. And don't tell me. The same players, the same people, the same policies, the same everything. And Joe Biden, who was a minor player puppet then, is the major player puppet now. That's what I see as the only difference, except Biden wasn't nearly as dangerous as Obama's vice president. Obama, pretty dangerous. It really hurt America in ways a lot of people just don't realize, because the guy has such a gifted personality, such a cool dude, man. But I don't think he was good for America at all. This guy comes in, this Biden guy, it's clearly, this dementia thing is just there. You see it. It's when he talks at presentations, but he's still coming in and saying, oh, he's going to open the borders and in 100 days, so these guys are waiting there for their 100 days. Does he realize everything he said people take seriously? So they come right to the border. Now, if you come into America and however you get it, you're going to be tested. You're going to go through a quarantine period. You're going to go through something. My friend just went to Vancouver, and he had to stay there for a while. 14 days of quarantine in Vancouver. Then he worked for a week, and now he's back. And he's got to go back again. I mean, do these caravans, do these migrant caravans of thousands of people, are they going through quarantine testing? Are they going through anything? Nope. They're going to talk about this stuff. San Francisco's changing the name of 44 schools. Is that what this equity thing is all about? We need to talk about that, and we're going to be talking a lot about that. Nancy Pelosi buys $1 million worth of Tesla stock just days before Biden says that the government's going all electric. How about Janet Yellen? Is it Janet or Janice Yellen? Gets $810,000 from Citadel, which is a big financial hedge fund. Citadel, which is the parent of Robinhood, and next thing you know, you see this whole exposure of what Reddit did to the hedge fund Robinhood, and Janet Yellen, of course, right after gets $810,000 for a speech. And by the way, she gave that speech. I mean, okay, you get Janet Yellen, head of the Federal Reserve. That's a woman of, knowledge and stature. People in that audience, these hedge fund people, they're all smart as her, or smarter than her. These aren't, this is an amateur time. We're talking, why are they giving her $810,000? Anybody in that audience could have get up and given that speech. They gave it to her because they're trying to network and get her to do things they need. And boom, what do you know? How random was it that just a short time later, Robinhood, the hedge fund Robinhood, which the parent company is, needs. See that? The dogs, this is grassroots stepping up, man. Reddit, the dogs are coming apart, man. They're like, I say Reddit and Citadel and Robinhood, and they go, that's it. So, this is the grassroots just upending everything that's going on and it should. We're going to talk about that. We're talking about big tech, big pharma, big Wall Street, and bringing them down. But what's that got to do with the Super Bowl? Big sports. That's what it's got to do. All this stuff is happening for a reason. There's no such thing as coincidence. Yeah, and we're going to talk about, I was just reminded, we're going to talk about Biden getting ready to give massive amnesty is what they're saying. Yeah, in a executive order. Nothing but a dictatorship. At least the dictator is not a competent person. He is a feckless, it's pathetic. But sometimes that's the good news, because that's definitely the other side. But when it comes to big sports, look where we've gone. Look what I call it flag football, all these penalties, all these rules, all this other stuff. And I want to see the sportsmanship displayed. Test it. Test that athlete's ability, that star. If you're a star, how are you gonna handle the bad calls? Hey, we can all handle the good calls. How are you gonna handle the bad calls? So when it doesn't go your way, are we gonna see? Are we gonna see a demonstration of how our heroes react? Is that no? And I'll tell you why. Because I have a friend who played in the NFL. It's just one person's opinion. I get that, but I think it's indicative of something. It's a little bit of knowledge of things, or a perspective that I didn't have, might not have had, but didn't have. And I talked to this friend who played 6 years in the NFL from '07 to 13, I believe. And cool dude, man. We hang out and smoke cigars and talk. And I ran this by him. I said, "What do you think, man? Am I right?" He goes, "Mike," he said, "you know, it's nice, that you want to see how they but this is big business. We're talking about millions of dollars. How do you," and he went into this whole thing, and I'm watching, and he goes, "Yeah, I remember my rookie year, I was all rah-rah and excited. I'm getting in there, and I'm going to be in a big show in the NFL and all that." And then you get there, and then he went into all this other stuff. When the reality hits, this is business. You're no longer, playing sandlot, baseball, football. You're not, this isn't high school, not even college. This is the real deal. This is all business. And we're talking about hundreds of millions, maybe billions of dollars on a call. And a call doesn't have to be, it could, the betting could be all about, the point spread. It doesn't have to be who wins or who loses. Sometimes it's the point spread. It's other things. Sometimes it's the over-under, And I go, well, big business has taken over. And I don't think you're going to break up, the NFL or Major League Baseball. I don't think it's going to break up. I'd like to see you break up some of Silicon Valley. I'd like to see that broken up. I think those monopolies they just inhibit and hold back creativity. They hold back the development of new technologies by new people, because why is Mark Zuckerberg going to allow somebody to come up with the next whatever? He's going to protect his own brand and make sure somebody doesn't come up with something that makes his obsolete. So, that's what he does, because he's so big he could do it. They're the ones who are censoring the president of the United States of America. Look, you could love him or hate him. I don't care what you think of Trump. I love Trump. I think he was probably, for sure, the greatest president in my lifetime. He blew his cool after the election, but for 4 years of being hammered by the media, hammered by the FBI, hammered by everything and everybody, like water off a duck's back. He handled it so well. You don't like his tweets, okay, look at the policies, look what he's done for America. The man was amazing. And so the election comes. Look, did you expect that? Did I expect that? Do I think it was fraudulent and fixed? Yes. But I'm not the guy that was there, with, the huge crowds and all the rest of it, and watching what was going on, seeing, how this whole thing came about, and knowing. No, how many times do you think Trump might have gone to, I don't know who the leaders of the party was it McConnell, was it, the other guy, this guy said, "Hey, what's going on? This mail-in voting, it's going to kill us, all this stuff. Don't you have to have IDs? What are they doing to the voting laws? How are they changing it in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Georgia? And how are we letting that go?" Do you think he ever said that along? I don't know. You would think that people in the Republican Party would see this coming and would have known. But it didn't hit. It hit us hard. It hit me hard, but not as hard as it hit Donald Trump. And he blew it, man. He lost it. I'd have lost it a lot more. You'd have lost it a lot more. I think if Tom Brady got that bad a call, he'd have lost it. And he's one of the coolest dudes playing. Okay, so yeah, these are all metaphors, man. This is what life's about. Take a look at all of this. Everything's a metaphor for everything else, and I think it's interesting we're at this time where you take a look at how big everything is taking over. How do we handle it? Well, we saw the grassroots of this Reddit, this internet group of millions of people who talk to each other in Reddit. They rose up, and when they saw GameStop being hammered and being sold short, which is what the hedge funds were doing. They were pounding it down so they could buy it short, sell it, make money. Way beyond my, my I don't understand it. I'll put it that way. But that's what they were doing. Somehow that's how it works. And then the Robin people came in and said, no, this is GameStop. This is where we all went when we were kids. This is where we stole online. We traded in our games. We bought new video games, traded in our old video games, hung out with our friends. We'd spend thousands. And so they took personal offense. Somebody said, hey, if it gets down below a certain point, let's all buy it. And they all agreed to that. Nobody knew about it. It wasn't a conspiracy or something like that. It was like a whole big kind of, if anybody wanted to tune in and listen on Reddit, they would have found out. No one was trying to hide anything. But they all said, we're gonna protect GameStop. You can't just not wipe them out and let them. We're gonna protect them. So they all bought it at the same time, and we're talking about each of them putting in thousands of dollars. So if whatever the minimum was $1,000, I don't know, but whatever, $1,000 or more, there were people putting $5,000, $10,000. So they bought it. Instead of it going down to $9 or say whatever the number. It went up to over $300, $400, and it was wildly successful. I guess what happened, and that's just grassroots. That's what Reddit is, grassroots. And what happened was it cost the hedge fund, this Robinhood owned by parent company, cost them billions of dollars. The people in Reddit made hundreds of millions, billions, whatever they made, and then the next day, Robinhood, the hedge fund, stopped trading. Said, nope, you can't sell anymore. You could buy more. No, wait, I got it wrong. You could sell, but you can't buy. Hey, look, I don't pretend to know this stuff, okay? I'm just repeating what I'm learning out there. Which is them saying, oh, you can't buy it. You can't buy it anymore. You don't want the price to go, but you could sell it. Them doing that, I guess that would bring the price down. It's total market manipulation. It's totally illegal. It's totally criminal behavior. But they're so big, they seem to get away with it. I haven't heard, but it isn't over yet. That's what they've been talking about all this week, and they'll be talking about it all next week because it's a big deal. It's a big deal that it's like every Sandlot baseball group in the country, every amateur, football, whatever in the country gets together, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them, and says, we're all going to turn off the football games at the same time. I don't know. I mean, something happened that affected the biggest of the biggest, okay? The biggest on Wall Street, the hedge fund. That it's a grassroots revolution hit them. A revolt, hit them, and hit them hard. Now, I think the hedge funds are going to come back, and but it just shows you that maybe it's just that we're all getting sick of big pharma, big Wall Street. Just break them up, man. Do something to create the competition. That's really the lifeblood, the engine of capitalism. It's competition, people getting out there, pushing each other, to go bigger, faster, harder, better, smarter, more successful. Let's get it going. That's what competition does. And this monopolistic kind of mentality is what stymies it, holds it back, keeps it down. We want that creativity in our lives. And we're not getting it with communism. Communism just makes everybody, all the proletariat, everybody's equal, except those who run the Communist Party. Or there's the Chinese Communist Party, the American Marxist movement over here. It's wrong. Okay, I'm on a tangent. Let's all enjoy the Super Bowl. But think about what I'm saying. Are we missing out by not, not having our heroes be the heroes that, they're going to influence our kids' lives. How are they going to influence our kids' lives? Who are the heroes that the kids are going to look up to? That's why I love MMA. I love the UFC. I love it because, these guys, they can win or lose. You look at, what's his name, that just lost that big fight the other day. Like a gentleman. I think we could let it go like that. That's I'm the York Myke. Thanks for watching my new YouTube channel. Keep on watching Roll Right Radio, and we're coming to you from Excalibur 2 times a week, and we're growing. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm the York Myke.